this is more than just let's name the stadium Gies Memorial Stadium. This is, I believe in the vision and the mission of the Illinois athletics programs. Welcome back, everyone. This is Bando's Breakdowns, episode 59. My name is Zain Bando. Thanks so much for joining me on this Friday afternoon. Still in the early part of September. It is September 12th at the time that this is being released. So happy Friday to you all. Hope it was a good week for everyone. And excited to bring you guys a packed show today. Should be some fun stuff, some controversial things, some previews, some predictions, some fights, and so much more. So let's get into it. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. You can do so at youtube.com/EDB Network. We just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. So again, greatly appreciate all of the support there as well to bring you guys more content. That's the whole goal. And thanks again for the support as always. So just as a reminder, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell that we don't miss any episode of Bando's Breakdowns or any other show across the network landscape. With that being said, for those of you who can't watch me, be sure to listen to me. Bando's Breakdowns, wherever you get your podcasts. That would be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast, and so much more. Again, you can take me on the road. The audio edition drops 3 hours before the video, so if you want me early, that is another benefit of putting me in your or as part of your RSS feeds rather. That way you don't miss a moment of my show, and that way again, if you want it earlier, you can get it earlier. All right, let's move on now. I am Zain Bando, a sports journalist and an ETB Network host. For those of you who've never seen me before, I do shows across this network, including this one. Obviously, we're 59 episodes into this. I also do Football Forecast. I also do Forever Power 5. Which will drop in the next few hours as well. I do a lot of short form content, including Bando's Blitz on Instagram and X every single Saturday. And then on Sundays, we bring it over to the Playback platform, 11 a.m. Eastern, Zinger Part 2. So if you missed any of the great stuff that was on this show this past week, you'll get all my Survivor picks for the NFL and all that sort of thing as well. So just as a brief intro to me as well, you can read my written work across several platforms. The Sporting News, you can read me over at Field Level Media. You can also read me over at MMA Knockout on Sports Illustrated. Shout out to our small but mighty team over there as well. Those guys are good at what they do. All right, enough about me. Let's get into the show now. Let's get into what we're going to be talking about. Again, a packed show on this Friday afternoon. Let's get into Zain's overview. A bunch of stuff that we're going to be getting into today. We'll be talking a bunch of college football and some controversial college basketball news surrounding Fresno State. So we're going to talk about that and what it all means and just kind of what I think it means from a collegiate athletics standpoint in regards to how sports betting, if you will, should be viewed. We're going to talk about the biggest takeaways from a wild weekend in college football. That was this past weekend in week 2. We'll get into whether or not Illinois is still undefeated. We will also talk about Illinois' upcoming game against Western Michigan this Saturday night, which has a little bit more significance for a huge financial reason. We'll get into what that is in just a little bit. We will also talk about Canelo Alvarez finally fighting Terrence Crawford. The week of the fight is here this Saturday from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. You guys won't want to miss that fight. And, of course, we'll also talk about UFC Noche. We'll get into the Bears losing to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll preview the Lions game and so much more. So without further ado, here we go. All right, let's talk about it. So Fresno State, 3 players are permanently banned from ever participating in college basketball again due to conspiring and gambling, essentially. So what happened was it was reported by ESPN and several other sources that Fresno State engaged in a lot of shady stuff. So let's talk about it here. So With that being said, this was a huge story, at least from the outsets of it. So the NCAA, according to USA Today and several other sources, bans a bunch of players, Fresno State and San Jose State. I put Fresno State there because they were the main culprit of this whole thing. Mikel Robinson and Steven Vasquez from San Jose State. And in fact, this is a little bit confusing. Let's take a brief edit of this and let's add San Jose State, give them credit where credit is due. So here we go now. Fresno State and of course San Jose State. All right. So here we go. So according to USA Today, this is what it says. The players, San Jose State's Mikel Robinson and Steven Vasquez, as well as Fresno State's Jalen Weaver, were released from their teams, are no longer enrolled at their schools, and are permanently banned from the NCAA for violating ethical conduct rules, according to the NCAA Committee on Infractions. This is as of Wednesday. It goes on further to talk about the investigation, how it begun in January, talking about several suspicious prop bets that were placed on Robinson for their game at the time, meaning Fresno State against Colorado State. And of course, there were just a bunch of other notable things. Vasquez's former room, obviously Robinson and Vasquez were roommates at the time this all happened. In 2023-24 to place bets on his underlying totals for the January 7th contest, meaning January 7th of this year. What else does it go on to talk about? This is interesting. So it says Robinson finished the game with 3 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 3-pointer and no assists to ensure the underlying bets won, according to the investigation, which resulted in a $15,590 total payout from a combined $2,200 of betting by Robinson, Vasquez, and the third party. During the season, Robinson placed 13 daily fantasy sports overline and underline prop bets, including on his own performance. Just a wild story in 2025 with how much college athletics has changed over the years. I think they're going to end up becoming looser on this whole gambling thing. But betting for or against your team obviously is a horrible look. And the NCAA did its due diligence by banning these players. That's for sure. And I think overall it's really disappointing. It makes both programs look really bad. Not like Fresno State or San Jose State really are basketball powerhouses. Inevitably, but it still is a bad look. It still makes the entire sport look bad, and it sets a bad example for future generations. And it should send a message to those that if they do this, this could be the consequences. Very similarly, not in the overwhelming way as to what it was, but does have shades a little bit of the UNLV scandal, which or excuse me, the Arizona State point shaving scandal, which which I thought was very interesting in itself. But this is really bad. I think I think a story like this could get swept under the rug because of who the teams are, but still, it's good to see that major outlets are reporting this because this is a huge deal. It's 2025. These under the table things really shouldn't be happening. And I think it's a bad look for all involved. And I feel horrible that the institutions have to go through this now because ultimately they have to clean up the mess. And if they can't do it, it's a bad look for everyone. And again, as I just alluded to a second ago, it's a bad look for those who want to do it the right way and want to have integrity in what they do. And when they don't, I mean, again, it's just it's a disappointing it's a disappointing look overall, and I really do think that the only people that can fix it are the people administering everything, and as well as those. Just I think further education is a key, and I know that these athletes have to sign waivers saying that they won't do this sort of thing, but it still ends up happening anyway. It's one of those where I don't know what to expect moving forward from something like this, but what I can tell you is that I think from an overall standpoint, it's not a light on your program that you want to see. So that's kind of how I feel about that. I don't know how these schools are going to recover, but it's still a bad look. And of course, those guys, they will have that stain on their record forever as they move into the next phases of their lives. All right, let's talk about college football. Biggest week 2 college football takeaways. Dare I say, Oklahoma defeating Michigan. That was huge. Bryce Underwood's first loss as a college quarterback. I think very similarly to Joel Klatt, that Bryce Underwood will bounce back in a huge way. Really was impressed with the way Oklahoma's defense played on Saturday. Let's see here. Also in the Big Ten, Nebraska blows out Akron, scored 68 points. We'll get into this more in just a few minutes, but Illinois dominates Duke for a 45-19 win. That was very impressive. What else was there across college football? Of course, South Florida upsetting Florida. That now has a huge story attached to it that isn't even related to the game, and now you have to be living under a rock to know what story that is. You'll get more of my reaction on that story on Forever Power 5. You'll also get that reaction, of course, on Bando's Blitz as well, because if I talk about it now, it's going to take up a bunch of time and it doesn't make sense. But the one thing that I will say, though, about it, before we move past this part of the segment, is that the AP vote matters, and I think that's as simply as I can put it. Oregon dominates Oklahoma State. That was an easy win. Northwestern defeated Western Illinois, but lost Cam Porter for the season. That was really disappointing. Northwestern is a very difficult game this week on the lakefront against Oregon, which is a game that Northwestern is a 4-touchdown underdog in. So it may not look good for the Wildcats. Wisconsin plays Alabama this week. Wisconsin got a much needed win over Middle Tennessee State last week. Iowa State beat Iowa in the Cy Hawk game. That was very exciting. Let's see. What else happened around college football that was kind of nutty? North Carolina defeated Charlotte, but the controversy was about Bill Belichick saying that he had banned Patriot scouts from attending UNC practices. That was interesting. Michigan State defeated Boston College in double overtime. That was an exciting win. Shout out to Jonathan Smith. They are now 2-0 on the year. They play Youngstown State this week. What else was there around college football that was interesting that I missed? Auburn failed to cover the spread against Ball State. We had them minus 42.5, and we lost. Let's see. Syracuse barely beat UConn, but was able to cover the spread. Lots of madness across college football. Lots of movement, though. Let's get into this Illinois-Duke game. 5 turnovers, 5 takeaways, rather, for Illinois to preserve the 45-19 win. Dominant second half. Biggest road win for Illinois in close to 15 years in terms of margin of victory. Luke Altmaier looked good. The running game still isn't quite there, but defensively, Illinois was amazing against Manny Diaz. Illinois is 2-0. Could not be riding any more weight than they are right now. Illinois, number 9 in the country. Highest ranking since November of 2001. Highest September ranking since 1989, which is crazy to think about. That's how bad Illinois' football team has been over the last 40-plus years. So shout out to Brett Bielema for finally fixing some things. That's really important. That's one thing to note. What else was there surrounding this game? Darian Mensa did not look very good for the Blue Devils. Everybody thought, Duke is going to be able to control their offense and go up and down the field against this Illinois defense that hasn't been proven as of yet. Now Illinois looks like one of the most underrated defenses in the nation. Brett Bielema's clock management was exceptional in this game. Like, overall, this game could not have gone any more perfect. So now Illinois sits at 2-0, number 9 ranking in the country, and they have Western Michigan coming to town this Saturday at the brand new, I guess the newly named, not brand new, stadium's been around 100 plus years, but the newly named Gies Memorial Stadium will host the number 9 team in the country, Illinois, taking on Western Michigan at home. It's the last non-conference game before a huge game a week from Saturday in Bloomington on my birthday against the Indiana Hoosiers. This is a massive game for Illinois. Again, they're a 4-touchdown favorite. This is a game Illinois should win. The last time these two teams met, all the way back in 2017, I'm pretty sure it was, Western Michigan was able to win. That was an entirely different era for Illinois. That was when the program was in the dumps. Early on in Lovie Smith's tenure, we know how that worked out. But now Illinois is a reborn program. Again, 2-0, huge favorite. Everybody's back at home. The game is sold out. It should be a great game. I'm looking forward to watching this. I won't be in attendance for it, unfortunately. I will be watching this from home, but I will be at more than likely the remainder of the Illinois home games the rest of the year. But this is a huge game for Illinois. They got to get to 3-0 here. I think they do it. Let's get into the preview of this game a little bit more, courtesy of the Illinois Sports and Information offices in Champaign. Let's go into what this all means from a holistic standpoint. So, number 9, Illinois hosts Western Michigan on Saturday, 6 p.m. Central start. Western Michigan is 0-2. They lost 33-30 to North Texas this past weekend. Let's see. And let me correct myself. December of 2001 was the last time that Illinois was ranked this highly in the AP rankings. Let's see here. Let's get into more details. Let's go into the game notes between these two teams. Shout out to the Sports Information Department for sending me these two. These are beastly packets. Huge packets. All right, here we go. What do we got here from this? Okay. Here we go. So it's on FS1. Noah Reed and Robert Smith are calling this game. Illinois has forced 6 turnovers defensively. They are 4th in the nation, only behind Tulane, UNLV, and Arizona, who has 7. They lead the nation with 5 fumble recoveries. What else is there? Let's see. Hank Beatty is off to a fast start. Let's see. He ranks 2nd in the nation in yards per punt return, behind only Indiana's Jonathan Brady. Beatty's 14.1 yard punt return average in 2024 ranked number 7 in Illinois single season history. So overall, the momentum is on Illinois' side. I think they'll win by whatever they want. That's my thought. I think the final score of this game, and I've been going back and forth on how much Illinois will win by. Let's see here. What do we got here with this score prediction? 28-6. 28-6 will be the final score. I don't think it'll be a 40 burger like last week, but I do think it's going to be one of those games that Illinois should be able to win comfortably. So I feel confident about that. All right, so we agree, or at least I think Illinois is going to 3-0, and I think it's no question. Let's move on now. I'm kind of dragging this on a little bit. Let's talk about Larry Gies's $100 million donation to the University of Illinois. Larry Gies, obviously the Gies College of Business. For those of you that know it, huge deal, of course. He donated a bunch of money to have the school named after him in 2017. Athletic Director Josh Whitman held a press conference Tuesday, shortly following the announcement, and let's take a listen to what he had to say as to how far Illinois has come and how much this donation really means from a financial standpoint, as well as just overall a program builder. So let's take a listen. According to Illini Athletics, and shout out to the Field Pass for the epic music background. It fully encapsulates just how much Illinois has really turned its fortunes around, and it's been really, really exciting to see. Here we go.
I used to tell a story about cracking a boulder, and I talked about how everybody Every time they bought a sweatshirt, every time they made a gift, every time they bought a ticket, like every time somebody did something to support this program, they took the sledgehammer in their hands and they took their turn swinging against that boulder. And we knew that day in and day out that boulder wasn't really going to change, but that if everybody took their turn on the sledge, eventually that boulder would crack. And here we stand all these years later, and the boulder shattered. So I used to tell a story about.
So obviously that was Whitman's remarks in regards to what the $100 million donation means. It's mainly going to be a donation towards the football program, but eventually I think it'll benefit all Illinois athletics over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, it's gonna, or even longer. It's going to be generational for years to come. And as someone who's an Illinois alumnus, I mean, I'm just going to say it point blank, the athletics renaissance that Illinois has undergone basically ever since I've graduated. Of course, men's basketball had its sure I guess it's surefire success when I was there from 18 to 22. But in terms of football, I mean, football has only really turned itself around ever since I've graduated. You have to remember my senior year was Bielema's first year. Illinois went 5-7 that year, and while they had some quality wins, they weren't amongst the elite of the elite. Now they're amongst one of the best teams at recruiting in the nation. They have a quarterback with immense experience. They have Brett Bielema, where essentially all he's done is win there. He's now 30-22 as Illinois' coach. I think I'm going to be the one to update his record for you guys every week because I'm low-key obsessed with Bielema's record ever since he's been here. I think it's quite impressive what he's been able to do, but this is only going to elevate everybody involved. And I think what some people are failing to realize about this is more than just a, oh, let's name the stadium Gies Memorial Stadium. This is, I believe in the vision and the mission of the Illinois athletics programs. And I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for a buy-in belief from an athletic director that has single-handedly turned Illinois athletics into one of the more legitimate groups of sports in the Power Four. I mean, you look at women's basketball, Shauna Green has single-handedly turned the program around. Brad Underwood has made Illinois the winningest team in the Big Ten over the last 5-6 years. Bielema is slowly but surely building winning football teams. They just won their first bowl game in 14, 15 years in January against a very good South Carolina, or end of December against a very good South Carolina team. My point in saying it is the athletic programs could not be at a better place. There are some that are struggling a little bit, but the ones that are driving the revenue and the ones that are making the most money possible, I think are at a place that they haven't been in a really, really long time. And I think that's really, really important. So, when you look at this and you look from a holistic viewpoint, this is more than just a donation. This is, okay, Illinois has arrived. We now have a big donor backing us. Let's see what we can do with this. And let's see if we can, as Brett Bielema likes to say, sustain success for the years to come. And from there, it only goes to show how far Illinois can really go. So that's how I feel about Gies's $100 million donation. All right, best week 3 college football games. A couple stand out. Tennessee versus Georgia to me is one that sticks out. That's a huge game in the SEC. I like Georgia in that one, but I think Tennessee covers the number. So I like that. Alabama versus Wisconsin. Can Alabama keep its momentum rolling after a dominant win this past weekend? And maybe this is the game that shows who Wisconsin is as a program. Because so far, through its first 2 games, lackluster at best. Um, I I don't see any real room for improvement from this Badgers team. I really don't. So there's that. I think those are a couple that stand out. Obviously, Oregon, as I alluded to earlier, is in for a pretty easy win, more than likely against Northwestern. Notre Dame plays Texas A&M. That's a huge game. Notre Dame is off a bye week. Florida plays USF. Or no, excuse me. Florida played USF this past week. Miami plays um Miami plays USF this week. Florida plays LSU. Let's clear that up. What else is there that's important in college football? It's kind of a lighter week in college football in terms of the major Power Four matchups, but there's still a couple out there. There's still a couple out there for sure. I would say the one to watch though is LSU Florida. I think that's the most intriguing. LSU is a very good football team right now. And then the game that I think is the most laughable game of the week is Penn State Villanova. I don't really think anybody cares about that. So those are a couple that I like, but watch the games at your own discretion. But I do think the major focus this week is going to be on this Georgia Tennessee game in the SEC, which could be a huge movement early in the year as opposed to later in the season. So let's go over my mock AP poll if I had an AP vote. And I'm not going to be able to pop this for you guys, but what I can do is read off who I have in each position. So here we go. So if it was up to me, the Associated Press lets you do a fan vote every week, and you earn points based on how many teams you get right as opposed to the actual poll. So here's who I have: Ohio State at number 1, Penn State at number 2, LSU at number 3, Oregon at 4, Miami at 5, Texas at 6, Illinois at 7, Florida State at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Georgia at 10, Oklahoma at 11. I just think their win against Michigan was impressive, so that held more weight in my opinion. Clemson at 12, Indiana at 13, South Carolina at 14, Iowa State at 15, Tennessee at 16, Michigan at 17, Texas Tech at 18, South Florida at 19, Bama at 20, Mississippi State at 21, Ole Miss at 22, A&M at 23, Missouri at 24, and a very sneaky good Army team at number 25. Or excuse me, not Army, Navy at number 25, which is 2-0. So that's my mock AP poll. I think it's pretty darn legit. I think I could justify my rankings, and I think number 1 is up for debate. Do you like the physicality of Ohio State? In my opinion, do you like the flashiness of Oregon running up the score? Do you like the way LSU controls the football? Do you like the way Penn State has made things look easy? I think number 1 can go any which way you want. I think it's a matter of preference. But I think, and the one thing that carries the most weight here is I think that Ohio State overall, I think deserves to be number 1 and is number 1 because they beat number 1. It's as simple as that. If you beat number 1, you deserve to be number 1. And in fact, not only if you beat number 1, do you deserve to be number 1, it should carry weight for the rest of the season. That's what I think. That's what I think. I think a lot of people said, oh, this isn't going to affect the playoff that much. I think it's a difference between whether you are the number 1 seed in the playoff versus if you are a number 2, number 3, or number 4. I think it's as simple as that. Beating the then number 1 team in the country in week 1, I think is gigantic. And I think it goes to show that if Ohio State runs the table, goes 11-1 or 12-0, that Texas game, they're going to come back to it and say, okay, they won that game. Let's put Ohio State over Texas in the CFP rankings officially when they come out at the end of December because they won that head-to-head matchup in week 1. I think it's worth the argument. And yeah, I know it's only September 12th, but beating number 1 at the time is still beating number 1. It's as simple as that. All right, let's talk about some fighting now. Canelo Crawford this weekend. All the hype is meaningless. Biggest boxing match in a long time. Undisputed super middleweight championship is on the line here. I think Terrence Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. I do. I think Crawford's been on a mission to win this fight for several years. I think Canelo is getting up there in age. I think Terrence Crawford has been a lot more confident in the build-up to this fight. I think Canelo Alvarez may be looking past Terrence Crawford because he still has that David Benavidez fight on the horizon. It's on Netflix. The pressure's on both of them. I just think Crawford is more loose and relaxed. He knows how much he's getting for the fight. This is a big fight. It's a huge fight. I like Crawford to win this fight late, TKO, later rounds. Expect it 9 for 12. I just think Canelo's old. I think he's a little bit slower. I think Bivol exposed him a couple years ago, and I think he has never fought someone with the speed and power of Bud. So give me Crawford to win the fight and show that he is the best non-heavyweight boxer on the planet. Only on Netflix this Saturday night, Allegiant Stadium should be a spectacle. 65,000 people are going to be in attendance for this fight. I can't wait for it, but give me Terrence Crawford to beat Canelo Alvarez in the biggest boxing match of the year to date. All right, speaking of, over in San Antonio, we also have a UFC event. UFC Noche, it's a fight night card. Diego Lopez, John Silva. I love this fight. I think stylistically, it's fascinating. It's not going to be boring. I think John Silva, though, is just on a different level. I think he gets the bad taste out of the fighting nerd's mouth. And I think Gene Silva, or John Silva rather, wins this fight early. KO TKO over to Lopez in a fighter fight. Absolute slugfest. I just expect it to be one of the best fights of the whole year. I think what do you call it? I think Silva gets it done. I think it's a great fight. I think it's an awesome fight. I think overall the card's decent. It's free on ESPN Plus. And it will not conflict with Canelo Crawford, which is very exciting. So if you want to watch UFC, there's also UFC this weekend. So stay tuned for that and so much more as well. All right, we're going to take a break to hear our message from our friends over at Playback. And again, Bando's Breakdowns is presented by Playback. And once this messaging is over, we will get back and wrap up the end of the show. So thanks again for sticking with me, and we'll be right back soon. Just wanted to give a quick timeout in the middle of the show to remind you guys that Bando's Breakdowns is presented by Playback. I teased it a little bit earlier that there was an announcement coming, and sure enough, without further ado, here we go. Presented by Playback, watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETV Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And with that, we can get back to the show. All right, thank you so much to our friends over at Playback for the awesome message. And of course, be sure to support everything we do over there. Again, that's playback.tv/ETV Network. All right, moving on. The Bears lose to the Minnesota Vikings in the first week of the NFL season, blowing a 17-6 lead. What more can I say? Is it the same old Bears? I don't know if it is or not. Is it a Bears team learning how to win with a first-time coach? Absolutely. Was Minnesota the better team? I'm not sure. Did the scoreboard reflect otherwise at the end of the game, 27-24? I think so. Is this a learning experience for the Bears? I would say, yeah, it is. But the season could get away from them very quickly if they don't fix some things. Number one, you're up 17-6. You have the ball, and you can't move the ball. Inexcusable. They should have pounded the rock on Monday night when they had the ball up 17-6. They tried to get all flashy by trying to let Caleb Williams do his thing. I didn't love it. I thought it was a bad strategy. If they would have just sat on the ball the whole third quarter, whole fourth quarter even, the Vikings would have not had those opportunities. I don't know. I think it was a coach that was nervous, a coach that was overwhelmed, a quarterback that's learning a new system. I think it was a combination of all of those things led to the unraveling. Did they show some good things early in the game? Yes, but wasn't enough to preserve the win. The answer is no. I was not a fan of this loss. Neither was anyone. Can they bounce back this week? That's the major question. I'm not sure if they can. They'll play a rejuvenated Detroit Lions team. It is Ben Johnson's homecoming to Detroit. Of course, he served as a coordinator there the past few seasons in the Motor City. Huge game, divisional game. Loser of this game is 0-2. So the Bears can't let this one slip away. Unfortunately, though, the game is at home. The Lions are the betting favorite. I don't see the Bears win this one, unfortunately. I think it's another heartbreaking loss between 3 and 7 points. Probably 28-21, 28-24, somewhere in there. It's one of those games where it's going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda type of a loss. Again, where the Bears just make too many mental errors, too many mistakes, and overall lose the game because of their own doing. I think it's one of those games where you'll look back and say, how in the world did the Bears lose this game? I think it's one of those games where Jared Goff just makes one more play than Caleb Williams does. And it comes down to the end of the game. They lose with like 30 seconds to go. It's another heartbreaker going into the second home game of the year the following week against a Dallas Cowboys team that the Bears should beat. Should is the key word there, but they got to get through Detroit first. Can they get through Detroit is the big question. I don't think they can. All right, and finally, last two here. One thing that I saw, Dave Portnoy went on a rant on Monday on his brand new show, Wake Up Barstool, about Sherrone Moore, and he wants Sherrone Moore out. He thinks that they are handcuffing Bryce Underwood. They're not letting this kid play football. And to an extent, I agree with him. It was a dink and dunk game. Bryce Underwood was not Bryce Underwood. It felt like it was very calculated, very just cookie cutter by the book football. So I can't fully disagree with him, but it is a controversial take considering that Sherrone Moore led Michigan to an upset of Ohio State in his first year, and he also led Michigan to a huge upset in the bowl game versus Alabama. Huge upset in the bowl game. Do I think this rant is going to get to Michigan? No. This is all noise. This is a diehard Michigan fan letting out his frustrations. I can guarantee you, if Michigan had won this game this past Saturday against Oklahoma, he would not be saying these things. Sherrone Moore is a good coach. They'll figure it out. That's for damn sure. They have a tough game next weekend against Nebraska. And then, of course, they have a difficult Big Ten slate overall. But it's one of those losses where they have a lot to take away from it, a ton to take away from it. And I think Michigan will be just fine. Will they go to the Big Ten championship? I'm not sure. Will they go to the college football playoff? I'm not sure. But what I can tell you is as he gets more used to everything, Bryce Underwood will be the Michigan quarterback of the present and future. No question about it. I think Dave Portnoy is overall frustrated about a lot of things. Michigan happens to be one of them. And is it a bad look on Portnoy? I'm not sure. But what I can tell you is it's just him being him. Simple as that. Portnoy is not the friendliest individual when it comes to teams he likes, and he's going to be harsh at times, and this is just another example. All right. Anthony Rizzo will be retiring as a Chicago Cub this weekend. One-day retirement. Luckily, I will be in attendance for it, so I'm excited to tell you guys all about this. I just think the Cubs should be grateful for Anthony Rizzo. It's as simple as that. Anthony Rizzo was my favorite Cub as a kid. Loved watching him, worked really hard, did all the right things, was a huge part of a dominant World Series team. I have a huge poster behind me of that World Series team that you guys can't see right now. But Rizzo he was one of those fan favorites. He was one of those hero type baseball players that everybody loved. And I just thought overall it was awesome to see that the Cubs did such a gesture that they really want Rizzo to be a part of this one-day retirement, and they want him to ride off into the sunset, and they want him to feel like he's one of these guys that can live in Cubs lore forever. I think it's awesome. I think he's a lot of people's favorite players, and I think he is great for the next generation of stars in Chicago that are just good humans. It's as simple as that. He's one of those people that has donated and just given so much time to just children and all the other things he's a part of. I just think it's an amazing feat for him. I'm so excited to see this one-day retirement ceremony before the Cubs play the Rays in a huge weekend series for the Cubs, trying to get in as a wild card in the National League by month's end, and it'll be interesting to see how the Cubs do over the next few weeks. But to get Rizzo his one day in the sun at Wrigley Field in front of a packed house. Hopefully, the weather is a little bit better from what I've seen earlier in the week in regards to the Saturday forecast. But nonetheless, I'm super happy that Rizzo is getting his day in Chicago, getting his flowers, and it should be an unbelievable atmosphere. And it's more of a happy Zain Zinger this week than anything else. But that's going to do it for Bando's breakdowns. Again, the only error I had was just the correction on South Florida versus Miami. So thank you guys for bearing with me with that. But that's going to do it, though, for Bando's breakdowns. I really, really appreciate you guys again. This is episode 59. Just as a quick reminder to follow the show across social media at Bando's Breakdown. That's where all the clips live. You guys know this. Stay tuned for those throughout the week and weekend as well. Again, would be very much appreciated if you guys did that. And again, be sure to go to youtube.com/GTB Network, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, do all that stuff. It really helps me out. It helps the network out. It helps keep the show in the algorithm. All of those things are critically important. So thanks again for tuning in. However, which way you guys choose. And again, be sure to listen to Bando's Breakdowns wherever you get your podcast. For myself, Zain Bando, and for everybody at the ETB Network, again, this has been Bando's Breakdowns, episode 59. I will catch you guys next week, as it will be officially my birthday week. That episode 60, will come out a day before my birthday. But until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the warm weather that's left, depending on where you are. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.